Hi everyone! I'm Rosie and welcome back to my channel. For me, country sourdough rye is the epitome of rustic home baking. Rye bread is perfect for sandwiches like Reuben's or just eating on its own with creamy butter. I'm using my insanely easy method of making sourdough, which I'll link to in the description box below. My method does take about 24 hours from the time you mix the dough till the time you bake it, but it's so easy and takes less than 10 minutes of hands-on prep time. Let's get started. I'll be using 500 grams of flour total, with 350 grams of bread flour and 150 grams of dark rye flour. I add 2 teaspoons of Himalayan pink salt, 2 tablespoons of caraway seeds, 2 tablespoons of grapeseed oil, but you can use any type of vegetable oil, 1 tablespoon of molasses, and 2 tablespoons of unfed starter straight from the fridge. Then I add 1½ cups of room temperature water. Since rye flour tends to be lower in gluten than wheat flour, rye bread doesn't rise as much and tends to be more dense. I'm using a combination of bread flour and rye flour to get a more airy and chewy crumb while still getting plenty of rye flavor. I've tried higher amounts of rye flour, and this is the most rye I can get in this recipe while still getting the texture I want. I'm just mixing until there's no dry flour left. This dough is incredibly sticky and shaggy at this stage because of the rye flour. It's probably the ugliest of the ugly duckling doughs, but give it time to hydrate and it'll smooth out. Instead of struggling to knead the dough at this stage, I just let it rest for 1 to 2 hours. In the meantime, I'm going to feed my starter. I have a separate video on how I maintain my starter without any discard, and I'll have that link in the description box. At this point, you're probably thinking I'm crazy, but the long fermentation time allows me to cut out a ton of steps. Time allows the flour to hydrate so I don't have to do an auto lease. It also gives the lazy cold starter enough time to activate in the dough. And it allows the yeast and air bubbles to develop the gluten structure so you don't have to spend a lot of effort kneading or doing those complicated folds. Also, I don't fuss about the temperature of water because with 24 hours of fermentation, it doesn't really matter. I will sometimes adjust my method to take half the time. I'll post a video on how I do that later, so be sure to subscribe. Throughout the rest of the day, I do some gentle folds every 2 to 3 hours. Timing can be flexible. I like baking this bread in my vintage Corningware, but it also works well in a standard loaf pan. I prefer to do my final proof in the same pan that I'm going to bake the bread in. That way I don't have to worry about transferring it after the final proof, which can deflate some of those wonderful bubbles the yeast works so hard to make. Lots of people love baking bread in a Dutch oven because it can withstand high temperatures and traps in steam. The steam keeps the crust softer during the initial baking process, so it can proof up more, also known as oven spring. I'm making a foil lid to trap in steam instead. However, this bread won't proof up very much because of the rye flour. After about 20 minutes, take the foil lid off and continue baking for another 40 to 50 minutes until the crust is dark brown. So the total baking time is at least 1 hour. See how easy it is to make sourdough rye at home. I hope you give this recipe a try and let me know how it goes for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more easy cooking and baking videos, and say hi in the comments. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!